OpTic is the best team after 2 years, Zescht? What the f?
Can you hear me, Vansilli? They said he wasn't good.
The players are not really on Sentinels anymore. That roster will never come back.
I've just come to the peace with that, you know, if I don't make it, then I don't make it. If I do, then good for me. And I would like to say XSET. I did not expect them to come out swinging. I'll tell you that much.
Let's get into it. Segment 1. It is the champions. I don't know how we're going to call this. Did we call this the champions of Istanbul? Because champions of Istanbul doesn't sound that cool. It has to be the champions of VCT 2022 because it is the biggest stage of the year. Are we taking a little bit away about Loud just being the champions of Istanbul, Zescht?
Listen, man. You, first of all, absolutely ruined my... You ruined my joke, man. I wanted to pull this off again, you know. I wanted to do this. I wanted to be like, hey, guys, I was in Turkey. I bought the merch, but that is worthless now. Anyway, thanks a lot for that one, Vansilli.
You just, like, ripping off your clothes, dude. What the fuck?
I like that ASMR.
I can invoice it every time. They told me here, like, if you have a shirt to rip, invoice it to us.
Invoice.
It was interesting, man. I can tell you one thing. That was definitely one hell of a battle that we have witnessed. The arena was vibrating. And I tell you one thing. There was not one Loud fan in that crowd. Every time someone tried to chant like a Vamos or a Let's Go Loud, nothing. Nothing. Somehow all the North Americans started to live in Turkey for some reason.
That's awesome.
But it didn't work out. That is the better part. It did not work out. And I'm happy that every single international event got a different winner.
Yeah. What's your take on like the how Loud's been looking for like the past year, Tanner, from, you know, bombing out from group stages, not doing well in 2021, and then suddenly getting like a finals in Reykjavik with against OpTic, then having to play against OpTic 3 times this tournament here to finally win.
Yeah, that and like, I guess, like, I don't know if as a fan I kind of hated it at first, but as it grew on me, I'm like, oh, you know what, I like it, whatever. The Loud OpTic, like, we have to have it. It's like The Office and Friends, you know, it just shows you have to watch. You have to see this matchup. I thought it was really cool, right? Obviously, seeing a team, especially a Brazilian team, kind of level up the way they did. And I think it was so important, right, that you get that Reykjavik run because of some of the younger players on this team, where now you get to the largest match that you've probably played in Les's situation, he's probably played in his entire life. And the dude just went hard, man. There was no stopping Les. Obviously, the rest of the team, you know, notable players, Aspas, all that stuff across the board. But it was really cool to see this story. And as an NA fan, I feel like there isn't an NA fan out there that wasn't rooting for Loud in this situation. Not that we're rooting against OpTic, but yeah, it was just so nice to see Loud kind of finally get this shining moment. And who better to beat in this moment than, you know, this Titan that they've had to continuously go up against.
Yeah, what I really like about this series too, and just overall this matchup between OpTic and Loud, is like, yeah, maybe they played against each other for the nth time throughout the year, but I think that every single time we've had a different type of play style in the head-to-heads, especially when you're looking at how OpTic played the grand finals. There was so many aggressive pushes from all the different 5 players on defender rounds to go for flanks, especially on Ascent, where that was the type of play style that we expected of OpTic in the first place. And then Loud had to adapt to that. They start winning that game, and then it's a chess match of how do you call things on the spot. And that's what I really liked to see from 2 powerhouse teams like that. And I think you were nodding to agree here, Zescht.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, the kind of history they come from, where remember, right? It was in Copenhagen, where both were on pretty much on the chopping board, elimination stage type of group scenario, and then they go into that and they Loud loses in overtime. Blah, that was hard. Then they come together again to meet, and they win so easily against OpTic here in Turkey, right? That 2-0. You remember how that Ascent looked like? They didn't have a chance, and suddenly it once more comes to that grand final. I was a little annoyed. I would have loved to see DRX Loud. I think that would have been more exciting, not gonna lie. But at the end of the day, it felt like it was that well-deserved breaking a streak at the end of the day. Not that OpTic played bad, but at the same time, the question also comes is like, you're playing back-to-back best of 5s in 2 repeating days. You don't have the same time for preparation. That's gotta be really painful. That gotta be super stressful as OpTic, because that game versus DRX was draining, man. That was going on forever, basically. And DRX was coming in with a near reverse sweep, which was so well played by that team, by the way.
Yeah. And at least yeah, go ahead, Tanner. Go ahead.
Can I just add to that real quick? I think that's such a great point that Zescht just made about the back-to-back best of 5s. Because when you don't have all that prep time, you don't have a lot going into this team that you've played over and over and over again, where you're 7-0 in all of your rematches that you've ever played, you need your star performers to show up, and that wasn't really happening, right? Countless times where we'd seen clutch situations where Crashes is falling just a bit short. And obviously that's a lot of weight to put on the shoulders of like an individual player. And I'm not saying that anybody specifically made OpTic lose, but they just didn't have that extra firepower that they would need to kind of counteract the lack of preparation going into another best of 5 against this Loud team where, 5 maps, Breeze makes its way into the pool again. And they definitely needed some extra oomph, and they didn't have it.
Here's why I'm also happy it's a Loud versus OpTic in the grand finals and that Loud won, because looking into 2020 an America's win, with Brazil representing the Americas, NAs in the Americas, of course, and Latinams in America. So we can have a little bit of that sprinkle. We could take a little bit of that taste in North America for that win for Loud. And on top of that, we also had some shout outs from the whole Loud roster, including the coach Bazooka. Give a shout out to our very own Danny Montner, ex Counter-Strike legend in Fraud, also ex coach in T1 in Valorant. And he helped them out in the pistol rounds, and they were dedicating that win as much as it is to Loud that it was also to Fraud. So I think that was really fucking awesome to see. So now we have a little bit of an NA in the victory of Loud, and I could live with that. At least it didn't go to EMEA. With that said, though, that means that the kickoff tournament is going to be in Brazil. 30 teams to start things off in Sao Paulo. I think that's going to be fucking awesome, and I can't wait to see the kickoff in 2023. But at least with what's going on live right now, as we speak, is the GameChangers. So we have GameChangers. I think it's Series 3 in EMEA. We have Series 3 that's going to happen in North America very soon through the qualifiers this weekend. But let's have a chat about EMEA. What's going on right now? I know we don't have any official streams, but I know our colleagues here at Zescht, such as X-Warrior, Geo, they're following some teams closely in their personal streams going into this format.
Exactly. And I mean, it's the same. This is where we can talk a long time. Do we like this Swiss format? Do I not like this Swiss format? Is it a good format? Is it a bad format? Well, first of all, which is, I think, very important to mention, is that the usual suspects are leading for and I mean, that is nowadays G2 Gozen, that is your Supermassive Blaze, that is your K's Hydra, which have showed they're good. The thing that is most interesting, though, which I like a lot, I think we have to really worry for that, is the guys from Na'Vi. Because Na'Vi obviously picked up a female team, right? That was that roster that mostly played as SMB, that was Proxima, that was Cephia, that was River. They have been playing good, right? This is this Foot Supermassive Blaze kind of mix they have made. And they've been playing good so far. They've in the past had decent tournaments. They also had like this Turkish only female tournament which they've won. So I'm like, promising as hell, could be interesting, because so far, take a look at it, those Game Changer finals have always been Guild-X versus G2 Gozen, and that gets boring at one point.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see some good stuff that comes out of it, but I think that's the beauty of the Swiss rounds too. It's not only for the preparation for the international tournament that's going to be happening for Game Changers at the end of the year, but also just it's been the same format for almost all of the Game Changers, if not all of the Game Changers so far. So you actually continue with the same type of format to keep the teams easy and going for that one too, and used to the format. And that said, though, I think you were talking about, Zescht, new signatures, new signings for the women's side, for Game Changers, but now we also have roster news happening on the men's side, on the male side, which is also going around. Let's start things off, sir, with TSM here, Tanner, talking about Juvenile has parted ways with TSM to start things off.
Well, yeah, and I think this kind of leading into the partnership program and where everybody's headed. I think this is an interesting decision, unless there's something going on behind the scenes, right? Because we haven't seen TSM since they'd been recently competing, not doing the LCQ and stuff like that. So they've been sitting on this decision for quite some time, it seems, to get rid of Juvenile. And I don't know. Again, I just feel like that's kind of a bad look when you're still pushing for partnership and now your team is without a coach. So it's interesting. I know that the rumors are, TSM want to buy OpTic, but there's still so much unknown that I think you should kind of stick to what you know, stick to what you have, keep this solid core, and then go from there. Because if TSM does make it in, then you can look to make roster moves by picking or poaching players from, the teams that don't make it in, or coaches from the teams that don't make it in. I don't know. That's a really weird decision to me when you know, that just screams uncertainty to Riot Games, who you're trying to be on their good side.
Yeah, and on the other end, I think it's looking at Europe, right? In EMEA, we have MEC that officially have decided that each players will be parting ways and trying to find different opportunities. Or Zescht, are you sad about this news? Are you happy? What do you think are the chances of the whole roster finding a home as they part ways with each other?
So here's the thing. It happened a while ago already, a few weeks back, that Nat's already left, right? So
Correct.
I understood his move. This individual move of getting picked up is very interesting. By the way, he is in Paris right now. So, you know, that could be
And was streaming like an hour ago in Paris.
Yep. So that could be an indicator of where it's going for him, right? But leaving that aside, I'm not. Ah, that's me. I'm not too surprised. I'm not too surprised that they split up, because which is the third CIS player that you're picking up? At the same time, I'm telling you right now, whoever you're going to pick up from that roster, you're doing yourself a favor. Like, you cannot tell me that there's one player who's not worth picking up. You don't pick up Chronicle. What are you doing, man? You don't pick up Redguard because you need an IGL. Yeah, who else is going to IGL in EMEA that is decent enough? Name one. Yeah, cannot think of anyone. You could get Redguard any day of the freaking week. Sorry, can say fucking week anyway. So it is overall a list of players that should all make it possible, but obviously the ongoing political situation makes it super complicated. It's making it super complicated. There was seemingly this rumor going around of getting some of them even out to NA, if I read that correctly. Well, try that at the moment. That's something that is really unfortunate, because this is really that set this spiral, right? Actually, if you think about it, this is maybe was part of the downfall of Gambit / Mech, unfortunately. And it's sad, man. They will get a home. They will get picked up. Does it make sense? Yes. Does it make me sad? Yes.
Tanner, you Sedge?
Yeah, I think that sucks. I would like to see, I mean, Anderson, I think, said it the best way, right? Is like a team sticking together, playing together, grinding it out together. It means that you really do want to be a team. And not that these guys don't, but the opportunities, the politics behind it, like Zescht said, it probably is easier to go your own way. But these players need to be picked up. That's the scariest thing to me, is that you had this star team that, with franchising, things being awkward, now they're all going their separate ways, with Mech not doing their thing. I would hate to see these guys not find a home.
Yeah. Well, I thought that we finally would have a show that would be able to upload on our socials later on that's going to get monetized, because
sorry,
I
man.
actually didn't swear yet. But then now that you fucking said it, thankfully we saw sponsors that's going to help us pay the bills, right? So our second sponsor of the show today is also going to be Juke.gg. Big shout out to Juke.gg to put some money in and help us pay some bills, man. They're actually an awesome platform. It's for everyone that, doesn't want to breathe around a toxic environment and on social media, because I don't know if you guys are on Twitter lately, but there's some shit going around, man.
Listen here, right? Listen, I was in Romania 4 weeks ago with my Bugatti, and I met this guy called Carlos Art, and we've been partying. And he told me about the esports team together, and we had a really great time. He really has a nice wife, a nice kid. I really like him. So with that being said, I love it. Really, really friendly environment we're having here in esports. Totally not a great idea to pick up 2 female teams in 2022 and to do that shit.
Yeah.
So sorry. Go on. You want to talk about a friendly environment in esports? Juke.gg, please.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know what I'm talking about. At least we could talk our shit and we could be toxic if we want on Twitter, but we're not going to do it for Juke. But what I also liked with Juke is that you can actually follow your favorite scenes and get the latest news. Yeah, you'll get some news of what was happening, lately with, some people partying around and whatnot. But at least the people going in the comments are not going to be at each other's throats like we currently see on other platforms right now. The other thing that's cool, though, is we get notifications for our favorite scenes, right? So with everything that's going around with the partnership program now, fuck it. You guys know what I'm talking about here. But with everything that's happening right now with the partnership program, and I have to scroll through the TLs and Reddit all the time, at least I have the notifications right on my phone with whatever's going on. And apparently the latest one, TSM unlikely to secure a Valorant partnership with Riot in 2023. We'll talk about that in a bit once we have Frost X 100 Thieves and from nearest airport to join us now. But let's go back and talk about champions, because we had a chance to talk about Loud winning the championship. We had a full month in fucking Turkey, full of Valorant action. So there's got to be at some point within this month that there was like a favorite moment that you guys had and that you could share with us here. And I'm going to start things off with you, Zescht. Let me know your favorite moment.
I tell you exactly. So
is that a measuring tape?
No, that's my AirPods, man.
Oh.
So- I'm gonna measure how much I like this game. I'm telling you that. This game right here, FPX versus DRX, I was sitting in the crowd and it was the best thing ever. This game right here was the most exciting, most interesting. Fuck that OpTic versus Loud game, you know, North America getting slaughtered just back to back. No, this game right here was DRX playing amazing defense, retake after retake. Those guys built a wall around it and you couldn't do anything about it. And FPX was struggling, man. It was sad to see. Angel was probably in one of his worst states ever, and it left me speechless. This right here, I'm just going to tell you right there, this was a 9-3 scoreline for FPX. And they threw it. They threw it. They played a new composition with Viper on Haven. When is the last time you've seen it in NA Vansilli? I don't know.
Never,
That
because
upset me.
we know how to play this map.
Yeah.
We're not Team Liquid trying to play a Viper on Haven either.
Well, we also did just get shit on Haven by Lao, so I don't know. I don't know how well we know how to play the map. We're still trying to force the Phoenix.
Yeah, true. You got to
Hey, the
force the
Phoenix
Phoenix
did
and
look
then
good. The Phoenix
Did
did
it?
look good.
That 614 looked really good on NA. Yeah.
Tanner,
Looked really good, man.
I'm gonna change the fucking topic because I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on to the negative part of NA because NA's on top, baby. America's on top. Tanner, what's your favorite moment of Istanbul?
Well, Vans, I wish I could be back in the corner of NA on top, and we talked about Haven, and it's OpTic getting shit on Haven. This is my favorite moment because of the way that Les played this. I was sitting, unfortunately not in the stands, in my seat, and I was like, this guy, there's no way this happens, right? Surely he doesn't make it out of this. And then he's just left, right, left, runs him down for the last one to get the ace. And it was one of those things that it just, like, I felt like there was an angel behind Les, and Les just grew wings. The ability to make this play, this is Aim Labs all the way, by the way. It was just like, this can't happen. For OpTic, this cannot happen right now. And then Les made it happen. And I was like, all right, that's it. Like, holy shit, man, you got to give it to him.
Yeah. Well, you know what my favorite moment was? It wasn't even about a game. Because what did I do last weekend? I was at a cottage. I was fucking cracking some brewskis. I'm still reminiscing from the weekend. I'm still white clawing right now. But
Out of White Claw.
I got to watch a bit. I got to watch a bit of the games. But I think what was cool was actually seeing the viewership that we actually had overall. I think if you have to compare the viewership from this year's at Champions versus last year at Champions, and we thought that we maybe hit the plateau on year number 1. Year 2, I think it was fucking awesome, the amount of viewership that we had. The fans to finally have people watching live what's going on in the grand finals during the whole stage. Zescht, I mean, you could attest to this, even though the commentators and the audio was just in Turkish only. I'm pretty sure it was a lively moment out in the audience.
Was super interesting. Like, overall, I mean, I'll say it like this. Istanbul is an interesting location where I don't know if they'll do a final again, because let's say it like this. I think you felt safer in Vietnam when it comes to driving. But in all honesty, it was cool, right? Particularly when Fnatic was still in the game. The crowd was mental. But otherwise, the crowd was overall really nice. It still felt like you realized that this is the second year. You still realize that this is like from the venue and everything. It's like one of those smaller DreamHack tournaments ish, because it still feels like there's so much more possible. You need to see. I was seeing LEC finals as well, and it was like, bruh, that was massive. That was big. That was so big, and there was so many people cheering. And you know, then it is obviously such a result and such a game and so on. But I feel like we have so much potential. Like, we have so much freaking potential, man. And that was a great start. I'm not quite sure if I like the golden carpet thing, I'm not gonna lie. But it was a little odd, right? It felt like whatever. Yeah, I think it's the greatest thing we've had in a while. I think it's the greatest thing we've had in a while, and I cannot wait what there's to come next year, because next year the topic for later, I've heard.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of money into next year, I think, especially when there's $16 million that are going to their teams at Champions, right, with the amount of skins that they sold. So I think that's pretty fucking awesome too. But as much as there were highs, as with us sharing our highest moments, there were also some lows going into the tournament as well. And I think the biggest one that hit social media throughout the Istanbul Championship was basically this XSET versus FPX going into having a replay round 24. And then going into overtime, where almost XSET could have won that one. That would have fucking created some ruckus. But there was actually 4 guys. They're still trying to find a name for their crew. But it was Hiko, Steel, Sliggy, and the return of Slasher. Actually, they all came together after Champions, did a little bit of a podcast, and invited some prominent figures that were in Istanbul to come hang out with them on a stream. And one of them was actually Ardiis of FPX to hop on with him to talk about this situation about the turret bug. So let's have a listen and see what Ardiis had to say and how he explained that situation out.
But the reason we were angry is we heard like the Killjoy turret shot Heaven and short. They gave them fake comms. So they heard one Heaven, one short. They lost the 3v2 because of the fake comms, I'm gonna guess that's why. And they weren't happy about the round. So they wanted the so what we basically got told is they weren't happy about the round and they wanted it replayed. Then all of a sudden, later, it's all Riot's decision. Riot want to replay the round. Riot are unhappy, but for us, we thought XSET were doing it, and Riot wanted to take the blame on their side. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just Riot weren't happy with the bug. Maybe we don't know how it was, but that's why we were so tilted at the moment in time. If that makes sense. Does that make sense to what I'm saying?
So from your comes out.
No.
Your understanding, XSET was upset first before Riot made the decision.
Yeah, but the Riot literally said to us it was their decision. Like the Riot came up to us and said, "Listen, it was all
Riot
this." It was
told
not
you that it was XSET's decision.
No, Riot thought it was their decision.
Riot said it was Riot's decision.
Riot came up and said it was our decision to. No, it was nothing to do with XSET.
I think what happened, it's like a little bit like read between the lines. XSET was probably playing the round, saying one Heaven, one short, and then that's messed them up. And then they're like, "Dude, I thought you said one was Heaven. What do you mean?" And then they were like bickering at each other. And then Riot's like, "Oh wait, like the turret shot. Like I listened to their comms. They were actually confused about everything." And then Riot made the decision because XSET was just like so confused about everything that Riot made the decision for XSET. That's what I'm assuming happened.
That's what I think happened as well. But like in the heat of the moment when you just won a game as well, and they were trying to explain to us the turret. Like I remember saying to the developers, I was like, "Listen, a Killjoy's turret is facing like this. It shoots over there. Where does it look after it's shot? It turns around. It goes straight back to its default position." And I was like trying to explain it to them. They weren't having it. They said it was a bug. So basically, it ended up having like this whole situation happened over fuck all, I think. But
and they were also explaining later on throughout the conversation as to like would FPX replay the round if it actually happened to them? And then Ardiis was like, "Fuck no." But then eventually, when you try to think about what's at stake and whatnot, potentially, anybody in that situation probably would have replayed the round. But on the other end, if you were actually the team that was going to say, "No, we don't want to replay the round," the situation probably could have happened where Riot's going to say, well, look, we're going to make the decision, we're enforcing it, and you still have to replay the round no matter what, just to like keep that competitive integrity, since that conversation happened in the first place and something has to come out of it. You can't just like pause, wait 30 minutes, an hour, and then have nothing happen right after. So an outcome had to happen, and they had to replay the round. But thankfully, it was still FPX that won. But I still want to know, what are you guys' thoughts? Was this a right call, what Riot did? If this was actually a Riot decision, and you saw everything else that happened on social media, the Viper Wall that went across Icebox, the Owl Drone back in like what Hiko was talking about back in like what was it, Iceland, where it didn't actually drone the right way, and all these bugs that are currently happening with the game, all those rounds were never replayed. Ardiis was talking about him lagging to like 50 packet loss. Are we going to replay the round? We're not going to replay the round. So are we being a little bit too subjective? Are we being too gray on or not showing what's black and white in terms of like what's a bug and what should be replayed, Zescht?
So that is a difficult topic, Vansilli. So let's take this from a different perspective. So the thing is, we all do mistakes and we're human. That's what I'm convinced of. Should you as a developer be certain of how a game works or not? Yes, I am somewhat concerned. I'm somewhat convinced. But what should your referees be like? Are your referees actually former pro players? No, most likely not. Should you know it goes back into default position when you swing it for basically one bullet, but it shoots a burst of free, so you go back and then, it does that? You should know that. The movement looked weird, but you should know that. I'm 100% convinced you should know that, but it's a situation of it is what it is, right? It reminds me a lot of, it's just going to be a stupid example, but referees in football always do a mistake. They have the VR, they have the VAR, right?
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can
yeah.
take a look at the monitor and you see a mistake.
Wait. I just got to cut you about the turret thing, because because I play a lot of Killjoy too, and if the turret sees somebody, it goes back to the initial position. That is correct. But if it still looks into that direction in the first place, is because somebody potentially even jiggled there. So the turret could still give that information that potentially somebody was up on heaven and then goes back to the original position if the other person only jiggle peeked from the other side of the corner. You know what I mean? Where the turret actually does, like, it'll do the and then look and not shoot, but still look back in the original position. That could also still happen as a Killjoy turret.
Yeah, but I mean, wasn't it the matter of fact that it was shooting once, was for 1 second seeing Angel. He was backing off before all three shoots shot. Shots were shot, for Christ's sake.
Seashell, shot the seashore.
Yeah, Anglo-Saxon, whatever. And then it goes back to heaven. Wasn't it like that? Or am I wrong?
I think where it got weirder was
right.
that you could see the player the entire time from the Killjoy turret's perspective. So when you're looking at that, I think it was the Omen that was peeking, and you could always see from left side of tree coming out, then right side to tree. You could always still see part of the character model of the agent model. And then the turret still does weird things by snapping away up towards heaven and shooting a shot up towards heaven. But yeah, the weirdest thing about this for me is that, and I know that we're not here to sweep it under the rug. I would love to sweep it under the rug. Let's just forget about it and just move on to 2023 like it never happened. We can't do that. But Killjoy was still allowed for the rest of the tournament. Knowing that that bug is a thing, I think was one of the issues that we talked about last week on the show. And it's like, so when you're looking at that, you know, where is the competitive integrity? Because you're literally just allowing an agent to be played on the same exact map. And you're either saying, hey, never put your turret on dice, please, because we don't want to do that bug, or you're accepting the fact that, hey, at some point in this game, that bug might happen again, and now we have to rerun this round once more because we ran it before. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's really weird that Killjoy was allowed.
I still think that it sets a dangerous precedent, right? When you don't have anything that's written black and white into the rule book of what's a bug and what's not a bug, and if there is a bug, is a round replayed or not. I think that's what needs to be the clear-cut written rule into that playbook, and it is going to be a living, breathing document. I said this 2 years ago when we saw that turret bug with those Sage Wall boost. Remember that one on Ascent? It was like the G2 match. Anyways, well, we digress. So we'll see what happens in 2023. Hopefully we get better rule sets out of that one too. But
was that also on a top of a Killjoy turret that like this is like Killjoy turret, Sage Wall? Get Killjoy out the game.
Pretty sure it was that. That said, though, let's go back and continue and talk about champions. And we talked about, you know, Loud being the champions of Istanbul, but do we actually have finally a clear champion, a best team that we currently have in Valorant after 2 years? You don't think that OpTic is the best team after 2 years, Zescht? What the fuck?
Hey, listen.
We were just having a show where I said we wouldn't have Angry Silly, and you're telling me that OpTic is not the best team
North
that
America,
we currently have?
Hello, pounds, miles, feet. Settle down, okay?
All right.
We're taking this the metric way. So
try to convince me. Try to fucking convince me. You're
FPX
fucking wrong.
I'm talking to a GTA character, honestly. What is this? Listen to me. Did FPX attend the first tournament of the year? They couldn't. They could not. They looked in prime condition and they could not, Vansilli. Their consistency couldn't be proven. No.
What?
No. They could not attend it. This means to me that even though OpTic was good, FPX could have went for the consistency throne. And I believe I'm right. And I believe you are wrong.
Hold on.
I'm holding on as long as you want.
Yeah,
Go on, please.
let's at least see what FNS has to say. Let's at least see that.
Hi, Declan again from Dexerto. So kind of despite today's results, you guys have placed first, third, and now second at all the international events so far, or all the international events for 2022. Is it fair to say that you guys are the best team of the year of 2022? Yes. Thank you.
Second
Hey,
at
you're
champions.
Right, I'm sorry. I'm right. You're right. He said it. Hey, sorry.
Second at
I didn't mean
champions. Second at champions, when throughout the whole circuit, there's like, 500 teams, let's say, that's been qualifying, trying to qualify through the open circuit, through the group stages, through the playoffs, to get circuit points to make it to the top 16,
Yeah,
and they
you're
get
right.
second place. They got third place at Copenhagen. They got first place in Reykjavik. When they're also playing as Envy, they got second place last year as well against Gambit, right? Or against M3C back then in Berlin. How are they not yes, they are the most consistent team, but also how are they not the best team based on all of those showings too? When at this stage, the top 16 teams in the world are always playing against each other.
Listen, my man, I give you the last year argument, okay? FPX last year was still choking on whatever, right? But at the same time, man,
you still had Mech.
Listen. Hold on. Just because North America just consists of 2 countries and you have no issues at all with each other doesn't mean that we have it that easy over here. Okay? Listen. Just because you're both our neighbors and there's no other neighboring state, this is not our problem, man. So what I'm trying to say here, I believe within this year, FPX could have been the more consistent one. Could have been the more consistent one. But they got bamboozled and robbed. Do I automatically say that OpTic is a bad team? No, Vansilli. No, OpTic did great, man. They did awesome.
That's why they're the best team. If not OpTic, then who? If not OpTic, then who? If not OpTic, then who? Just give me one. Give me one right now.
Hello.
First team that pops to your mind as the best team in Valorant.
You are an old man who's hungover. Please come down. Take your aspirin. We're getting there, okay? I'm just saying.
Sounds like you're saying FPX.
I honestly cannot say convincingly FPS. I cannot lie to you.
Then it's OpTic, man.
Yeah, I guess you got me. I'll give you that. For now.
I do respect that you stood your ground and you tried to come out. I do respect. I was gonna hit you with an earnings check and just say, hey, between OpTics and FPX, hey, earnings check. Let's see who got more money in it. But I respect that. But yeah, I agree. I think OpTic. I agree with Zescht, who now is on board with OpTic being the best team in 2020. Actually, I did have an argument that was going to be, if you're not the best team in North America, how could you be the best team in the world for 2020? Right? If you're getting second place in North America, but that's obviously jokes because they shit on everybody internationally. But yeah, OpTic, OpTic just looked damn good, and they had the best player. I think Ye looked like the best player throughout the year.
Yeah,
as well.
fair.
You guys know what the crazy part is, though?
No.
All 3 of us think that OpTic is the best team in the world currently in Valorant. And OpTic is not making it to the partnership program in 2023, according to sources here from George Geddes. That is some spicy shit that we're going to have to talk about after the break. And before we go to the break, we're going to give one more shout out here to our main sponsor, one of our main sponsors, Twitch.tv, to make this show possible. Thanks for your money. Thanks for providing these White Claws for me as well. And once we come back, we're going to have FrostVsYou or FrostVsYou, depending how you guys want to approach the name. Hector is going to be joining us, ex-coach of 100 Thieves, current coach of Nearest Airport, to talk about the partnership program here in North America. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
If you're enjoying Valoranting, feel free to follow us on our other socials. We're over at Twitter at Valoranting, and of course, every Tuesday, 11 a.m. PT, we're live on twitch.tv/DNP.
All right, everybody, welcome back here to Valoranting. Hopefully you had a good break. I'm speaking fast because now it's time to get to the spicy shit, you know? So it's time to bring in Frost, Hector, man, ex-coach of 100 Thieves and now coach of Nearest Airport. How's it going, buddy? It's been a while since we had we had an opportunity to speak with each other. The last time we didn't have enough time. I don't think we'll have enough time this time either because we just love to have conversations with you.
All good.
So let me know. First off, how's things been going in like the tier 2 scene growing with Nearest Airport? And secondly, what are these trophies behind you?
Oh, those are all like all the F3 stuff. Actually, this office is going through some renovation, so that's kind of what that is.
Nice.
I think this is like a dream hack. Wait, this is like a dream hack.
I think that one's a dream hack. Yeah, that seems like a dream hack.
That one's dream hack. That one's,
I don't think Omen will give you a trophy for dream hack.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a bunch. Omen, no. Omen was the HP Omen challenge or whatever.
That's
where
it.
we played Mouse and like Markelov got like wind and like water in his face.
Chat, if you guys don't know, by the way, because you guys probably all know Hector Rosario from, like I just mentioned, in Valorant with 100 Thieves and Nearest Airport, but he also used to run a team with Flipside in terms of Counter-Strike and also Rocket League, if I'm not mistaken, as well, for those 2 esports titles, and then now eventually going into Valorant in the past 2 years.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So how's it been with Nearest Airport so far?
It was an interesting transition. I was helping a team in another region. So, kind of funny story.
We love the Hector stories. Let's go.
I was kind of doing both.
Okay.
So, and I've been doing that for kind of a long time now. But the Nearest Airport opportunity came because most people don't know this, but Aleko was supposed to play with us in Berlin, but didn't because, you know, that's a story for another day.
So we're talking about 100 Thieves here at this point.
Yeah.
Okay,
So Leviathan, Aleko,
was
supposed to play with us then. He was supposed to be, part of the Berlin squad. Obviously didn't happen. Subsequently went to TSM. Trolled, in my opinion, but it's fine. Went to TSM, and then, whatever happened. So everything's been happening the way it's been happening.
Yep.
And Bancroft, I had recruited Bancroft in the 100 Thieves at Cat. Oh man, this is actually this is stuff we never got to on the 100th episode because we were gonna get to this.
Yeah.
I'll breeze through that like super quickly.
All right.
There's a world, there's a universe where the 100 Thieves Academy, which I wanted basically even before First Strike, because I knew practice would be the way that it is now in NA, where nobody takes it seriously and everybody just runs it down, would be this bad, that I ended up, first it was Phoenix 1, so Zekken. There's a world where Zekken ends up on the 100 Thieves roster, because Apex, Rude, Zekken, Precision, King, all those guys, I saw that coming way before anyone else, right? So
that's Noble team then back then, right?
Well, no. First it was Phoenix 1, then they became Noble.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So once Zekken went to XSET, they rebranded as Noble.
Yeah.
And then obviously they were our practice partners. So what I would do, Apex has talked about this on Twitter a lot. What I did then was I basically made them our academy team, unofficial academy team. So like I'd go over like the scrim before, like, hey, look, we're going to hit this site this many times. We're going to work on this. We're going to work on that. I need you to do this. Sometimes in the middle of the round, I would make it hard for Josh by telling them basically where we're going so that they can be stacked, just so we got all the different looks. And so I use a Noble roster, which is why that Noble roster against us was so close. I think Masters 2 in 2021, they knew all our stuff. They knew how to counter it. They knew what we were doing. They knew what the walls meant, what the orb cloud meant. They knew everything. So they were it just was unfortunate we ran into them, but obviously we made it through. I believe Asuna popped off, if I'm correct. No. That was against V1 where he dropped the board. Anyways, so, all that stuff. So I was pretty ticked off when I lost Zekken. Trust me. You don't even want to know. It ultimately led to my demise, I think, at 100 Thieves, because there was this constant back and forth between me and management always about the direction of where things should go.
Yeah.
And June 2026, June 26th, they were like, all right, we're gonna have an academy team now. All right, build one, right? So at that point, I had like a ton of. If I showed you this, I actually think I did show you.
You did show me. No, you didn't show me shit. Don't ask me for that to leak anything.
All the killers, anybody, all the Cryo, your Xanders, all your killers are now separating themselves all across VCT. Those were all iterations of players I wanted. All of them, from the guard. Guys, it is insane. So anyways, Bancroft was on that list. So Bancroft and Leviathan, who were on those lists, eventually it just kind of happened that Bancroft and me talked. Because he's like, look, you're not really doing much. I was with Torify with ZMM Silver when we beat T1 twice, by the way. TSM, I'm with them, right? So I'm helping them. This is like, because they went to my alma mater, so they're playing on the FIU team. So I've been babying them forever. And Torify was on the unofficial 100 Thieves scrim team with 7. Oh, this happened later, after that June 26th thing I told you about. This is like in August, or no. We're preparing for Masters 2. This is in July at the Dallas facility. I created a scrim team with 7, Torify, Pure VNS, who's on Knights, Jovi, obviously Jovi was my analyst, but like he was a former Rainbow Six pro player for Flipside many years ago. So when Valorant came out, I was playing with Jovi a lot, which is how Jovi kind of got his start. So I was like teaching him all the tactical FPS stuff and all that. So Jovi and Boy, that's how those guys ended up as 6 men, because I know they knew all of our stuff because they were around forever. So that was an unofficial scrim team. That's where I got like with Torify. So Torify got an offer from Fusion. So that meant that that experiment was over. So we had one Masters run where we beat some of those teams or whatever in January or whatever, and then ultimately flamed out. Lack of experience. I mean, a lot of those guys were college kids. So it's like the fact that they can even beat professional teams with professional salaries is, in my opinion, that's like NA.
So to as you explain this right now as well, Hector, and I wanted to maybe have your thoughts as well of what's going on with 100 Thieves, because when you were in a position where you were coaching 100 Thieves, you're trying to build an academy team, but you're also telling me that there was a lot of friction between you and management, right, to try to get the vision that you wanted, best value of what you had, or what could be possible with the roster that you have with the Asuna, the Hikos, and the Nitros and whatnot. Now that you look at the current 100 Thieves roster, right, that has like quote unquote newer faces. There's nobody with CS:GO clout. It's all like up and comers, people that actually grew and got a name within the Valorant scene. And then they actually invested more into the general management of like DDK and the coaching of Mike's and Sean. Do you finally see or do you finally agree with 100 Thieves that they sort of like saw that vision that you initially had now, and where do you see 100 Thieves now?
I know what you're trying to do. I have a lot of affection for DDK and Sean.
Yeah.
So you're not going to hear me say anything, especially DDK. I mean, he was
Of course,
wearing F3 jerseys on Face It broadcast.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love them. Like, I have no issue. I've played against, or not technically played, but like I coached against Sean Gares a couple times. Known him forever. There's a funny story about that roster where like we kind of, anyways. So I wish those guys the best. As for whether or not they are going to have the keys to do whatever, I imagine so. I imagine that that's why they brought them on. I mean, it was kind of a clout move, because the truth is, and this is no disrespect, this is just a fact. It's not my opinion, it is a fact that the current roles they have now, they had never done before. Right? So they got signed not having job experience.
Yeah.
So I imagine that they trust them enough to give them the keys to the kingdom. Whether or not it was 100 Thieves learning their lesson is, I think, irrelevant, and also something you're going to have to ask them. I don't even know. But I do hope that they have the control, because as one player who left to another game said, man, it's interesting. I wonder, if they would have listened to us, how things would have worked out, so I do really hope the best for them in that respect. As for the current roster they have, good luck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think that might be it? Because here, let's look at the roster now, right? Because this was the roster that was playing at Champions. So Asuna, Bang, Derek, Stellar, and Will. The latest rumor that we've seen in the last half hour from George Gades is saying that 100 Thieves actually did get accepted into the partnership program. So
they were always going to get accepted.
Yeah, and for me, Hector, it's not only on what they've accomplished in the past 2 events, but also what you have done with the Hikos and the Nitros and the Ethans of the past as well. So here's the list of the possible teams that are actually going to make it into the partnership program, and you've been ingrained pretty much of what's been going on in the back end. Is there anything in here that surprises you? Anything that confirms the rumors that you're hearing?
Oh yeah. The only thing I was wrong about is TSM and EG. I did not see that coming. But no. This is that's pretty much what I know to be true. I think MIBR is troll, but I think it just speaks largely to what Riot, who they are and what they are. And at the end of the day, that's those are the teams that are presented to us. I think there's a lot of good teams that probably deserve to be here that are not, and it's largely political. I mean, it's about favoritism. It's not about merit, I think. So,
Well,
well,
can
and
I-
financials.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I jump in there and
Sure.
kind of get your thoughts on maybe what you think the criteria is? Because I would think now TSM gets a little muddy with their history and Reggie and stuff like that on League of Legends side, but I would think that kind of means well, right? Hey, TSM has been, in our ecosystem for a long time just through League of Legends, that they would make it into our Valorant stuff because Riot is investing in these teams. Are you familiar with kind of what the criteria was, or have an idea
Yeah,
what the criteria was?
So what's weird is Riot, and I think it's because of plausible deniability. Riot hired a independent firm to make this decision.
Oh.
So that it was hands off.
Hmm.
What I don't know, like I'm not an idiot, so like I imagine they still had some say, and even if some independent arbitrator made a decision or ruling, they couldn't just override it. But I don't know. But yeah, so they hired someone else to basically quote unquote vet these teams. It was financial. It was, I mean, like they wanted to see everything under the hood, cap tables, all sorts of accounting information, plans for like, content, plans for sort of like what they'll do on the grassroots side, plans for like what the organization is going to look like, or blah 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 blah. And then I don't technically know this for certain, but let's just say I have a good inkling that some of the decisions, like the LATAM and the Brazilian, for instance, weren't made by like the USA team. So it's like they were allocated a certain number of positions based on the region you're in, and you fill it how you want. I also believe this is happening in APAC, which is why the large Korean consortium exists. Because there's a lot of other countries with really good teams that got left out, but in APAC it seems to be like not like a Filipino branch and a blah 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 blah. No, it's actually just the APAC crew, whereas in North America it was like, or the Americans were just by the NA crew. The LATAM was by the LATAM crew, and you choose who you want, I guess, and how you want, and that's sort of it. And Brazil the same. I'm still surprised they got allocated 3, but unlucky.
Yeah. Zescht, anything you wanted to add on this?
I'm just trying, because I thought the MIBR thing was weird as well, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you have more experience in esports than I am, Hector. But I'm just trying to figure out why it would be MIBR. Like, from all the teams we have in South America / Brazil,
Yeah.
why MIBR?
Well, what's even more interesting is if you think back to the Immortals. So I remember Noah Winston, and all this. Oh my God. It's funny because they got kicked out of LCS, but is it George Milken who's the principal? I think so, of Immortals. So like it's weird that like they can kind of creep their way back in, but I guess it's like history. They probably got an injection of money, but then it doesn't. But this is where the financial argument doesn't make sense. This is why the EG thing to me is a lot of weird. But like, I just don't know if it's nepotism. I don't know if like, I just don't know. But it's just strange because MIBR shouldn't, by all conceivable metrics, they shouldn't have been a part of this unless Fallen is switching and we don't know, or he's going to be GM or something. Like, I don't know. Maybe I could hit up Gabriel and ask, but I have no idea. Like, to me, I don't understand that move, and I'd like to think I'm smart enough to maybe piece together, like, with deductive reasoning, what's happening, and I just can't.
My assumption could be around just the branding in general of these organizations, what they represent in tactical FPS, right? Because MRBR, as you've mentioned, if it's not Fallen, there was still like the Kogus of the world and the old school MRBR of Counter-Strike 1.6 that.
Right, but that's dead though, right? Like,
but
no one
it
gives
was
a
like
shit
the
about
first
that anymore.
It was the first team in that put Brazil on the map in Counter-Strike 1.6. Then you had the team that put him on the map for CS:GO with Fallen. Now you also have like
Technically, that was
Keyd
Stars,
Yeah, I guess
Keyd. That's when they made their run. And then LG, I mean, I guess, but like it just doesn't make sense because by that logic, then why would Navi have a Russian CIS foothold? I mean, I guess
Yeah.
geopolitics make it a little bit complicated now, given all the M3C stuff. But like, I just don't know if that's a thing because then why is EG there?
Mhm.
Because this EG is not the same as the old EG. Everyone knows that, right? Everyone has this assumption.
Yeah. Well, even a team name changed from when it first started till now, but it's still like a good brand that was around for Counter-Strike for the longest time too, though.
Yeah, but
Are you
this could have
trying?
also been NIP.
Right.
Could have also been an IP, which also
Yeah.
has a stronghold in Rainbow Six in that region in Brazil as
Yeah.
well. I do get that.
Yeah. So
But-
I'm unaware as to I guess the reasons for Brazil. It's just, you know, but I don't appreciate it on a personal level. I don't like it. I think obviously he sets a bad precedent, but I also
Mhm.
think that this franchising in general did as well. So it's kind of just like, or this
But-
partnership program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even with the partnership program, there was a tweet that came out earlier on today or yesterday. I think it was by Will Minder or by Slow, but it was like just a Pikachu meme of like organizations, signing players at a lower salary and then sells them with higher buyouts. Exactly this was. So it's on Bodork. My apologies, Bodork. So it was players being signed to orgs at small salaries but have very high buyouts, and then the orgs gets denied for partnerships. Is that in any way true of
Oh,
like one of the criteria of being like
there's
okay.
a certain team in NA in the tier 2 scene that are active in the tournament space that have really insane contractuals with younger players who did not know any better.
Mm.
So this is a thing that is going to happen. I mean, it's also why I think the Ascendant program is troll, because these anti-poaching, like if you look, I've owned an org, right? Ran an
Yeah.
org,
Yeah.
8 majors in a row, RLCS championship, Crossfire. I mean, I can go on, right? About like
Yep.
all the titles you have at F3. I understand sort of what the game is, right?
Yeah.
You win Ascendant and then go back and then you start over, but you start with a worse team because your players are going to obviously be poached the moment they leave the Ascendant program. You can't keep those players anymore. They're going to want to be a part of the show. So like even that I think is not really thought of, or like I don't think a lot of thought went into that. Just like I don't think they realized that completely destroying the tier 2 scene halfway through the year would cause this ripple effect where
Mhm.
young people who don't have the financial literacy are going to be put in very awkward situations.
Mhm.
And now you have a very weird sort of like situation brewing in that,
But Riot
tier
also
2
did
scene.
mention at some point that there was going to be like restrictions around buying out like rosters and ascendant teams or whatnot. So I think there's still some sort of like
Yeah, when you're in the
protection
league,
plan
but
as
what
well,
happens
yeah.
when you reach the deadline? This is what I'm saying.
Mm,
When you reach the
okay.
deadline, you're not part of the league anymore. So what happens? I win it. Flip side comes back, right? We
Mhm.
win it. Which everyone's asked me if I'm going to do that. Absolutely not. I'm not going to risk X amount of money on this program given
Mhm.
the certain thing. Because like if it's performance based, I'm as confident as anyone I could probably do it, right?
Mhm.
But I'm not guaranteed to be in the show. Guaranteed a certain time allotment, and then I'm going to eventually have to do what Flipside did, right? Sell your players, sell your simples, sell your electronics,
Mhm.
sell your, and then start back from ground zero after 2 years in the show. Now you go back and you're behind all the ascended teams. Now you have to find another young crew.
You're a farm team.
So it's like,
Almost.
it doesn't matter even if an ascended team wins the league. Yeah, there's expansion opportunities. Okay, but there are also complexity. You didn't make it, and I mean, I don't want to go down the whole list, but
Yeah.
you get my point, right? Like,
Mhm, mhm.
so yeah, there's anti-poaching, but like if you know the game, you know the game. Like, you just get your players to be like, yo, just wait, trust, and then what? You don't
Mhm.
need executives or like VP of esports or GMs or anyone to make these things anymore. You just go to players, especially if you have like a franchise player, right? Like for 100 Thieves earlier on, it was Hiko. Hiko would create the dynamic of signing and approaching players, right?
Mhm.
You don't, I don't need to do that. Go for Asuna and Dicey, ask them. He asked them. GG, well played.
GG, well play.
Right? Like, so this is the day we live in now. You don't need. I mean, you could even use girlfriends. You don't even need like. I don't even need to talk to you, Vansilli. I just holler at your chick and be like, hey, listen, respectfully, I can't reach out to him because of X, Y, and Z, but here's what I would like to do. You know?
Right.
Or maybe I add you on the content creator program with the expectation that I'm gonna get a package deal. You know, like
what are we expecting to happen now, right? Now that you have the yays that are just chilling because OpTic don't make it, and we have you know, I guess like anybody from TSM, I can't shout out TSM. I can't really think of a player to kind of put up there with, like, when you have OpTic out there, you have the fight from OpTic. But I mean, what does that look like for? Does Sentinels just sell off their entire roster? Like, how does all that work? How does the contracting stuff work now with OpTic? Are they just stuck with their OpTic contract until, you know, they have to be content creators until their OpTic or till their contract runs out? Like, what does that look like with some of these players like Yay tweeting all good? It's not all good, right?
Well, I mean, no, it is for them, but it's funny because Ye was available in January, and there are certain teams that goofed and screwed the pooch. So that's so funny to me that, you know, in 9 months now, you know, it's like the world changed. He is the best player in the world now. So crazy. He's gonna be in no matter what. Sentinels are gonna release their roster, probably gonna buy OpTic or be in some bidding war, I imagine, with EG for OpTic, one of those two, or Sentinels is going to completely rebuild. I have no idea what's happening with Sick, who was, for me, their best player for a really long time. But like all those guys are going to end up on squads. So the current teams, like, you know, TSM didn't make it, but the current rosters, like NRG, 100 Thieves,
Sentinels roster. If you're telling me that they're apparently
they're done. They're done. That's done. That's done. The old Sentinels on. The players are not really on Sentinels anymore. That roster will never come back.
Is that
for a multitude of reasons? Oh, boy, you don't even know. I actually said something earlier which should have given you a clue. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But that, you know, so
Daniel, check the VODs.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah. I'll just say that, like, all these rosters, they're all going to change because now the scene is consolidated, which I think is the problem. I mean, I have tons of issues that I kind of already talked about, but like that's one issue, is that now there's a consolidation of talent. Yeah, he's going to find himself on an org because he is, you know, for all intents and purposes, he is NA Valorant at its highest level. I mean, having Ye on the team almost guarantees a 70% win rate on the round. There's no other player in the world that does that.
I said right now, yeah.
To that level of degree. So just say that, like, he's going to be fine. For him, it is all good. He's chilling. Whether or not his roster stays together, that roster, I mean, it's more of a fairy tale story than people even understand. That, I think, is the funny part. And Ye is an even more fairy tale story than people even know because, as I said, he was available if you were smart enough in January. And then goes, you know what, guys? Get on my back. I got this.
Yeah.
Right? It goes from, they have all these question marks.
So we talked about a little bit, Hector, about the tier 2 scene, about, you know, selling or signing players low, trying to sell high. What does this mean right now for even the current pros? So if you're going to tell me, for example, that if OpTic are not going to be part of the franchising and there's maybe a bidding war between like EG, Sentinels, or whoever else, does now the salary of these players that are free agents so far are going to just fucking escalate and just...
There's an org that already ruined it, though. There's an org that was already paying more money than they needed to for talent and didn't understand it because they don't have the efficacy, I would say, to sort of, like, you know, handle this. Those days are long gone. If I told you some of the salaries of some of these teams on these players, you'd be like, ooh, it's
So how do you make the money back as an org at this point? So what was, if you're an org owner, right? So let's say we talk about F3. Let's say we talk about F3, and then there was an opportunity for you to join the partnership program, but you still have to pay an exuberant amount for a super team, right? That you want to build. And now that you don't have to pay a slot into the partnership program with Riot, therefore not having to pay, let's say, like $20 million for a franchise spot, such as other organizations, such as other leagues, how do you still make your money back in the long run if the salaries of the players are so exuberant? Why are these orgs? Why do we want to be a part of the partnership program too?
Well, for one, esports. I mean, it's weird to say esports is the new hot thing because it's been around a while, but you know, that fervor continues. I'll say it like this.
Fresh.
For Flipside, here's why I can't, because so our failure at Flipside, my failure at Flipside really was I could never raise money. Now you could argue, why was I not able to raise money, which is an entirely different conversation that we can get into, despite the fact that I have multiple. I mean, you know, we have I'm almost world championships on one hand. You know what I mean? Like I'm almost out of digits, right? So how is that possible? How in an era where everybody was able to raise money were you not? I could say it's maybe my personality, maybe it's the way that I present myself. You can say all these other things, but at the end of the day, you still have to produce. There's a lot of esports teams that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars that have never produced. They're on Series Ds. So at some point, where was the industry? Where was the course correction in the industry? And that I think is the real problem, because at the moment you say, well, how do people make money? Well, this is why I wouldn't bring back F3 specifically for this Tier 2 Ascendant program, because even though I know I can perform in probably a team like Nearest Airport to, you know, the place where they can compete with some of these top teams, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be able to make the money, because I couldn't even. Flipside's biggest year in terms of sponsor revenue was like $550,000. Compare that to 100 Thieves, which is over $20 million a year in partnership. By the way, 100 Thieves, best partnerships team in all of gaming. Killers, man.
Not
like,
just a hoodie org.
Brother, I learned so much. I learned so much just from I learned a lot on the marketing side by just getting to understand sort of, because I'm actually really cool with a lot of staff. Every mid-level staff member and lower, ask them what my relationship with them is like, right? You know, obviously contentious with like upper management, but that's for some of the things you mentioned here and some of the things you guys don't even know.
Yeah.
But as Vansilli, as you know, when it comes to like normal people or just a normal guy, not an asshole, right? But I know that there's levels to this, and I know that if you're not on my level, relax. Like, just trust me. Either you let me cook, right, and shop for the groceries, or you do it for me. But we can't have this like, hey, man, you're a pretend GM or pretend coach or pretend this. It's like, I either have the job or I don't, right? So, like, that's when you normally get, like, fire in me.
Yeah.
But at 100 Thieves, that org is built, I think, to be successful in a franchise system like this, because this was already a popularity contest from day one, and now they don't have to pay money in it. There are other companies, which I'm not going to name because I don't want to be disrespectful, that are even in that don't have anywhere near the infrastructure or anywhere near the acumen to even be able to compete when it comes to that business side of this, which obviously makes me kind of think that some of these selections are sort of funny. But so, like, I can't do it on Flipside. I was never good at marketing. I don't market myself very well. That's not what I do. I don't live that life. I don't talk about living that life. I just live the life. Right? I do the work. I do the things it takes to be successful. I don't need to talk to you about it, or whenever we lose, I don't need to get on camera and lie to the world about like what we're doing and how we're doing it every 2 seconds. I don't need to. I've never really liked doing interviews until you forced me to do one in December. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even like this shit. Like,
I thought you approached me, man. I thought
thing.
you spoke to me, Hector. You're like, we should start doing something. I was like, yeah, man.
Me and you, because you have obviously a long history, and it wasn't even around content, right? It was more for like younger players.
Yeah.
Because I started to see the issue with younger players. Well, not started, dealt with it even on Flipside, right? Don't forget, I'm the guy that chose Blade over Simple.
Yeah.
You know, because I know how difficult it is for the youth, but I also know sort of that once the power dynamic shifts from a parent and a young player, like once a player starts making more money than his parents, you can't even rely on discussing issues with the parent anymore and say, hey, listen, I'm having a problem here. It doesn't matter anymore. Once the foundation has shifted to they're paying their bills, it doesn't matter what the parent says. And now we put kids in a really weird. Now these kids that don't have a lot of education, are antisocial. And what I mean by education is how many young tier 2 Valorant players dropped out of high school to play Valorant full time,
Yeah.
or barely graduated out of high school and definitely don't want to go to college.
Mhm.
It's much different in sports because at least in like real sports, you are forced
To go to school.
to go to
And,
school.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do with you was we need almost like a big brother program. We need to like actually teach these people. And I didn't want to create like these stupid North American associations for players, which are not that, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to actually be like, hey, listen, we have a lot of experience in sort of the esports space. We need to actually like try to educate these young ones as fast as possible because the things that they're about to deal with this next year, which was obviously this last VCT season, it's going to happen really fast, and it's going to happen, when they're largely underprepared for this.
Mhm.
I had no idea that Valorant would destroy its tier 2 scene in May. Right? Even me and you were even unprepared for that because we were never
Yeah.
talking about sort of like the education system around like, okay, you might be jobless. Now you need to figure out what you're going to do.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was going to happen. As a matter of fact, I goofed because I should have been in APAC earlier. I said no because of some other things that I think you know about some of them. Had I known
I don't know
what
anything,
would have
Hector. I
happened,
don't know anything.
right. Had I known what would have happened, even my career, I wouldn't have looked like I was like, not in the scene anymore. Because like what people don't know is like I was VOD reviewing with Gambit. I've been active. I just don't talk about being active.
Mhm.
But I've been active because the entire time Valorant came out, I knew franchising was going to happen. That's what I was trying to prepare 100 Thieves for, which was feeding their business with younger talent so that when franchising hit, you don't have to deal with maybe OGs that are flirting with retirement. You can have a pathway where the OGs get to either be coaches or stay a part of the system, but not have the pressures of having to compete every day when they're probably not able to do so. Like Nitro had a kid in the middle of our thing, and look how we looked without Nitro.
Mhm.
We lost to, oh my God, I'm disrespecting them by not remembering their names. I'm so sorry. There was that Cypher player that like completely destroyed us in that Masters 1.
Masters
Oh, that's so
1.
bad because this would be a good moment for him. But yeah, so just right, a group of randoms beat
Not
us without
Rebo, right?
Nitro.
I have to look back. Yeah.
Oh my God, I feel so bad for them because they deserved it too.
Keep going. I'll
Because they
find
beat
it.
us.
Keep going. I'll
Yeah,
find it.
but the point was like they beat us and like
Mhm.
they deserved like the recognition now. So that's kind of like unfortunate. But like look how we looked without Nitro.
Mhm.
Nitro was gonna be a dad, right? I have not had I would say the luxury of focusing on family first. I've always been career driven, which is why I am at my age still sort of around in esports and doing all this stuff. So Nitro, even though he's younger than me, and he's like a little brother, he had a kid first. So I couldn't even relate to him and help him as a coach to be like, hey, listen, look at the stress. Here's how we're gonna deal with the stress is like, we're gonna go lighter on practice today. I was still teaching or I was still acting as if, we still had 8-hour days, 2 hour or plus 2 hour VOD review. And we had like all these things that I think I wouldn't say hurt him, but like just imagine I didn't have the life experience to even like adjust for him. How the hell are we going to adjust for 16, 17-year-olds, man?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to be 17 now. I don't know what it's like to have gone through school in a pandemic, right? I
Yeah.
don't know what it's like to be 17 years old making more money than both my parents combined. I don't know what it's like to be a part of a system that is going to kill itself. And then I'm going to be like, so unlucky, like, so that's just the way I think the cookie crumbled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
No. And
you
sorry,
live, you
just
learn, right?
just to go back, was it against the Carpe Noctem team? that you
Yes,
guys were
Carpe
playing?
Noctem.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Carpe Noctem, right? Like,
The Silence was playing. Yeah. Okay.
right. And like
Yeah.
at that time, I was so blissfully unaware. I mean, there were reasons for it, but like, that's when I started to realize how important Nitro was to the team and how important it was having an Omen anchor. So this is what we didn't understand at the time. Like now you see players that can't anchor on Omen. Nitro was doing that from the beginning. And like we were cheating off of him. So it's like I had no idea how important Nitro was until that happened. So what I started to think was like, oh man, if Nitro, what happens if Nitro takes his family more seriously? need to be prepared. We need to have the next generation, just like we found Asuna and not Dicey, but just like we realized that putting Asuna and Dicey around an older crew might be good. What if then Asuna and Dicey become the older crew and we can I mean, imagine that roster, right? It would have been more than likely Aleko, Zekin, B-Dog. I mean, could you imagine that going into this franchise league right now?
Yeah,
Especially Cryo and Xander, who should have been on our roster, by the way. Imagine, look what Cryo was doing over there. And by the way, they said he was dog water. The assumption was that this kid wasn't good. Can you hear me, Vansilli? They said he wasn't good. And I'm sitting here like, guys, if he's not good, why is he destroying you in every scrim that we play? I don't understand. Like, please, someone tell me. Right?
Because he wasn't a CS player or anything like that. Didn't have that name. So
Unlucko, bucko.
Everybody's going to get looked over, and that's what happens.
Crazy, man. It's just so crazy how these things happen. And now it's happening again in an even worse way than I ever thought, because now the consolidation of all of this makes it to where, like, all these rosters are gone. Now it's basically like, all right, I'm speculating. I don't know for sure, and I have not talked to Ethan at all.
Mm-hmm.
NRG is what? Ethan? And then EEIU, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that?
Yeah, I can't disrespect my buddy James.
Yeah, hazed?
Guys. We're talking Valorant here. This is no disrespect. But with all the available free agents, you need to start thinking about this, right? Shazam, he's probably going to stay content creation, not player, obviously. But like, there are other available IGLs. The point I'm making is what we just discussed now with me talking about, like, all the old stuff, 100 Thieves, all that nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening again, and it's even more volatile now.
Yeah, that's of course. It is definitely going to be volatile because we got. You have to sign everybody to get them ready for February, so shit's gonna get fucking crazy for now until the next couple of months.
Actually, first roster lock is in October. Not trolling.
Yeah.
The first round. It's not like a hard cap. Like, it's not like a hard lock.
You got to soft put in like 3 of your 5 or something like that in October. I've heard about that as well.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. And then there's going to be some tournament which hasn't been announced yet for some reason in November.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have obviously all the details on that, but I know it exists.
Is that like a blast, like a third party something popping up?
I think it's Red Bull. Yeah, but like I said, I know enough because I'm good at my job and I know what I'm doing, but I don't know all the details because I'm not as plugged in there as I have been in the past. With Red Bull.
Let's try to see if we can change the topics a bit too. We'll do one last rounds of questions as well, because I think we might have some hard outs very soon with you as well, Hector. So Zescht, I'll let you take over here with the.
So you seem to be decently connected, and there were some rumors coming around of like 1-2 EU player potentially switching to NA, particularly the Mech guys. Is there anything you picked up with NA orgs or like the entire roster market?
I'll tell you this: if I'm in, so I've already said I VOD reviewed with them. I have a good relationship with Gambit because even back then, I'll tell you this: if I get a GM role, there's already one player who I'm bringing if I can to NA.
Redgar.
And I'm already doing as much as I can. I love Redgar. I can't confirm or deny. I will just say that it's a player that I game planned against specifically on that roster in Berlin. I'm going to do everything I can. Absolutely everything I can. I have a good relationship with him. I don't know if it'll work. So I'm not even like trying to put this out there to put any pressure. Absolutely not. Even if I get turned down, the relationship is not going to change. But there is absolutely guys on that team that are capable of coming to this country and outperforming some of those players. And more importantly, I think that roster should have never broken up. And I'm actually still pretty upset with all of them, actually. I actually told some of them this because I think they trolled. I think that roster did not have to break. Well, I mean, I guess pre these crazy offers that they're probably getting. But the roster was going to break up anyway. But and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I will absolutely say you can hear this first now. If I get a GM position, there's one guy I'm bringing. So if everyone else, they better do the same, because that roster had some killers. That roster had some killers. So They probably will stay in the EMEA because I imagine they're going to want to be closer to home.
Yeah.
But if I have my way, boy, that roster.
Near impossible to get them out at this point in time. Near impossible anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hector, I think that's it for us right now, man. Again, always a pleasure to have you on. I think every time you come on, we always need a next part because we never have enough time. So we'll try to find another time to have you on for part 4. Never apologize, never all G. Just be like, see you next time, you know. But Hector, what's coming up next for you? Because we were mentioning at the beginning of the interview that you were hanging out and helping out nearest airport. What's next with them? What's next with you?
Toronto Land is probably next, so I'm probably going to go there and try to help them out. They were
I'll
cool.
see you there.
Right. So super quickly with nearest airport, what's good is they were able to, because of, I guess, respect that we've had mutually between me and some of those players, they're able to sort of like live through some of the ideas I wanted to do and some of the concepts I wanted to do on 100 Thieves. Like they have their own training regimens. Like it's actually crazy. Like they have like position coaches. Like I created. Yeah. Let's just say like they are my preparation almost for everything I plan to do in the franchise league. They're an unpaid roster, so obviously the hours are much different. But in terms of like structure and sort of approach, they've been a really good guinea pig. Especially, I'd say like Aleko. I think say this out of respect for him, and I'm sorry, Ian, if I'm killing your time, but everybody should know this. I think he's grossly misunderstood in some of the ways I think people may misunderstand me. Like they misunderstand sort of passion or anger and frustration for like unquote he's a bad dude
or toxic.
Right. A lot of times people don't listen to what you say. They care more about how you say it. And I think this is a real big problem we have in society now. It's like, it's like me and Vansilli. I'm always honest with him, sometimes even brutally. Even Tanner. Tanner, I don't have issues with you on a personal level, but even I've disagreed with you vehemently. Man, I think you're trolling here. This was cap.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be thrown as shade. It's just, as an individual, I have enough respect to you to go, hey, I think what you did here was kind of troll, right. And I didn't appreciate that. And it's not that what you did was egregious. It was more just, I feel like I have to sometimes go to bat for my people or even sometimes myself. I don't publicly chastise anybody, right? I always try to go privately and tell you straight up like what the deal is. And, and we've had mutual discourse go back and forth, and it doesn't always mean I'm correct. But if I come to you, I've put enough thought into what I'm saying. Or if I say like, man, what the hell were you doing there? Don't worry about me going, what the hell are you doing? Actually go, damn, what was I doing there? Why? Because I put a lot of thought into what I say before I say it. Just because I'm coming at you, abrasively, that doesn't necessarily mean there is, venom involved. Sometimes it's just, we don't have the time to go, hey, Tanner, I just want you to know on this round, it's just, I'd much rather be like, hey, man, you trolled this round and move on. And you trust me enough. And if you go, I don't think I trolled, then we watch the tape. So I think players like Aleko have been a really good breath of fresh air for me, because if you listen to what people say about him and actually how he is and how he is as a teammate, same with Abdo. Abdo, you're going to Toronto Land. Abdo, everybody thinks he's an ass because he's like loud and he'll like, grab you by the neck. But the truth about Abdo is he's a really good teammate. He just, when he's frustrated, he just goes, right? Like, what the hell are you doing? Some people might go, what the,
it's how passionate you could be. And I think some people read the passion wrong sometimes when you really want to win and you have the right pieces, but people just see it as confrontational stuff. So that's
it's
totally
just time. We don't have the time. Just like I don't have the time here. We don't have time. So sometimes,
exactly that.
so sometimes to avoid wasting time, you just got to be as direct as possible and as honest about it. And I'm not so afraid of what you think of me that I'm not going to tell you the truth.
Yep. That's why we're always going to be happy to have you on the show as well, Hector.
All right, boys.
So thanks so much for hanging out, dude.
Take care. Hey, Zescht, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Have a wonderful time. Take care.
Yeah, man.
All right, everybody. So that was Hector
Peace
Rosario. We'll see him on Saturday, at least for the Toronto LAN. And then it's time for a break because we're not even done. We only talked about and touched the surface. We spent, an hour with Hector, and we only scratched the surface of North America. But we have EMEA coming up. We actually have Sayf from Guild Esports. That's gonna be coming on with us after the break. and we'll talk about the EMEA partnership program. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. If you've enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell for the future noties, but also comment below with what you'd like to see in our future shows. Welcome back, my friends, here to Valoranting. It's time to move into the last segment of our show, the last portion of our show, and it's none other. We saved the best for last. It's going to be Sayf here from Guild Esports to join us with us right now to talk about the EMEA partnership program. Sayf, how's it going today, brother?
It's going great. Feeling nice. Nothing much to do, you know. Just relaxing all day. Not a lot of things to play, so yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, no, happy for you to be here, man. And you know what? Let's get into it. I think before we actually get into the partnership program, for those that don't know, of course, here in North America, you've been playing for the past year here with Guild Esports. So I want to take a little bit of that time to give you the floor and do a little bit of self-reflection of how the year has been for you in terms of personal improvement with the team in itself, and how the break's been so far.
Ooh, damn. It's been a long year, huh? It's been a long year actually, you know. I guess for the team itself, I mean, coming in with our new roster, obviously we played with Trex and Coldamenta. We brought in some new additions. We brought in Russ, and it was my first time playing with like an international roster because obviously I've had a Swedish team from the very beginning, and we had that little, you know, we had the golden rule, like we're gonna keep it Swedish and we're gonna stay as a pack, and you know whatever happens, happens, guys. Hey, you know, and it even became a meme for us as a team. We were like, just whatever happens, guys, it just happens. It is what it is, and then they ended up getting kicked. So that happened. But obviously, an improvement, like our bar, the coach has, I don't know, like just playing with different people. It's just we learned how people approach the game differently. You know, when you're so zoned in with like a certain bunch of people that you've known for like it feels like your whole life, you never see what's outside the box. And then when Cola came and when Trex came and they started saying their ideas about the game and everything like that, I was like, wait, this could be good. You know? And it was good. So yeah, I mean, obviously I learned a lot from a lot of people, and I think that was for us the most. But personally, I think what was the best is that people don't think about like a team aspect, what you could learn and how you improve as a team as a whole is that mental part, right? And it wasn't even like a mental coach that helped us with it. It was actually the coach that told us like, guys, emotions, cut it out. Like there's no such thing. There's no such thing.
I was doing a VOD review on you versus PaperX on Ascent, and I remember you overpeaking, and I remember Barbara saying, yeah, you shouldn't overpeak there, the emotional aspect. So I kind of see what you mean. I can imagine what you're talking about. Listen, I guess it's Barbara. I guess it's the way it is. I mean, I always appreciate it. I remember sitting in with him in the house 3-4 years ago, if you remember. That was a very interesting experience. Anyway, it was
no. You gotta talk about this. What happened?
Okay, listen. You really want me to unpack that story? Are you sure?
I don't know. It depends. Is it safe for work?
Yeah, it is safe for work. Okay, it is fucking funny. It is fucking funny. So you need to see. I met Sayf the first time, I think, when you were 16 in Krefeld. And afterwards I was temporarily like joining Singularity, and I was joining Singularity, and I remember the only reason why I think we went to Party Safe is because the female team, which is now G2 Gozen, basically won. And who was coaching that female team, Vansilli?
Who was it? The women's team for G2 Gozen? You were coaching them?
Ching! Bro, look, it's the only fucking win I have on Wikipedia. Look at Wikipedia right now. Look at us, coach. I didn't do anything. I swear to God, I just sat behind them. I didn't do anything. But anyway, that is what I remember at least. So yeah. Anyway.
That's so
listen. You've seen the lists, I guess, Sayf, right? You've seen who's joining, who's not joining, so on and so on. What surprised you the most so far? Like, what caught you off guard?
I feel like we have too little Nordic representation. I feel like the UK and the Baltic is kind of like disappeared. They have, what was it, like 3 Spanish teams, 2 French teams, and then what happened to the rest of Europe? You know, what happened to MENA, for example? Like where are all these regions going out? You know, I feel like they've focused too much on. Sure, viewership is good. It's awesome, epic, dude. Let's make the game famous. Let's go big. Let's go strong. But if you have this whole ass region and you're gonna say, I want only the big guys and fuck everyone else, then how the fuck are you gonna assume that people are actually gonna play from all around the globe? You remember, like, this franchise league, sure, it's supposed to be like exclusive and whatnot, and try to be, including the best of the best, but still, we're excluding so many young people and so many people that want to go pro or like take the path from the game because we're saying essentially like, I mean, these regions are fine with us, but you guys, meh, it doesn't really matter for you. And look at it from their perspective. Like, if I'm a Swedish guy and I see absolutely no representation for the Nordic region, like, for example, orgs like Heroic and whatnot,
Mhm.
obviously, I'm not going to sit there and be like, I want to be a pro because for me, it doesn't matter. For
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
it's like, it wouldn't be reachable in my own mind. So
Mhm.
I think that's bad, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
Well, actually, to go into a different angle, I wanted to check your thoughts with that as well, Safe. Because let's say we take the example of North America, right? You have United States and you have Canada, and it's quite wide. So and that's pretty much it, right? We only have two fucking countries. Geography 101.
Whoa.
Welcome to Valoranting, chat. No, but what I'm trying to get to is when it comes down to the organization, it's just going to be a bunch of American flags, and that's fine. But of course, in Europe, there's just so many representations that are available, as you just mentioned before. But that's from a player's perspective, right? So if the organization in itself, as we see right now, potentially 3 Spanish organizations, but the players within that organization or players from different countries, would that be too much of an issue, or you want to go to what you were mentioning before at the beginning of the interview, saying, let's keep it Swedish and go from there? Like, you want a Swedish orgs, you want a Swedish everything, or is the important thing just wanting to go in and play, and if you have that opportunity to do it, to move to like the Spanish teams and play to do it?
I think it's completely fine if people, I mean, if orgs that are from a certain region taking, I think that's exactly what's going to happen though. Like, obviously, people aren't going to play with full, country lineups because that's not the best thing to do. I mean, the orgs still want to win and the orgs still want to have people that have somewhat relevance, you could say, I guess, or an exposure. So, yeah, I don't see this full thing happening with like pure lineups, but I don't, I still think it's discouraging somehow.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that, especially in the first year. I'm always the type of person that wants to see like the positive out of everything, and like there's hope here and there. And if I want to think about it, like, even so, for example, let's say hockey, right? You're gonna have a certain amount of teams. It's just the amount of teams that's going to be playing for X amount of years, but the players are always going to be, unfortunately, a revolving door going into the team. So with the first 10 that are going to be announced, with potentially now 2 more every single year after, then hopefully whatever the system is going to be outside of the partnership program becomes like the amateur farming system, so that they have a chance to prove themselves in that region to move up, get poached, and move into that system of the 10 teams that are partnered later on. I feel that that could be a direction that it's headed towards to, but how do you feel with that approach if that's going to be the case, Safe?
I really like the way they split it up because before we had so much speculation as to like, oh, they're only gonna have the franchise teams, and then there was this whole drama thing on Twitch between the European players were like, oh, we're gonna be completely excluded. Like, there's no way. It's just gonna be like the Super League in football. You know that one? Ever
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
of it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's basically what they were talking about. And then Riot comes down and says, "Hey, we're gonna have 2 people or like 2 teams that can go up into the league as well. So we're gonna have some participation." And I feel like that's a good way to find a middle ground in this whole franchising thing. Because if you were to have pure franchise and exclude other people, then this game would die out faster than I don't know what. At least for tier 2 and any other. Because in FPS games specifically, it's like this is how it's always been, right? Ever since CS:GO, and how it is like you always worked your way up. You play the open qualifiers. Everyone has to play them. You have to go through them. You go to close. Sure, there are some invited teams, but this is the process, you know. And if you remove that process from the FPS culture, then it becomes a question of, what are we actually doing? Are we watching like a super reality TV show, or are we actually fighting for something? You
Yeah.
know? So yeah.
I think then it if you get rid of that, and it looks like League of Legends ecosystem for tier 2 and tier 3, which is dog shit. It's better now, but I think Valorant kind of paved that road for a better ecosystem for the players on that side of the things. But to come back to this one, to come back to EMEA and Valorant, it's to my understanding that the tier 2 scene outside of kind of VCT was pretty shitty. Do you feel that this is better, like an upgrade, a step in the right direction, right? Whereas like in NA we have the Knights that are always putting on monthlies. We have Nerd Streets that's, you know, weeklies leading up to a 50K summer champ, stuff like that. To my understanding, EMEA didn't really have that.
Yeah, no, we didn't have that. We had nice cactus. We had nice cactus, right? Zescht?
Yeah, but how long? That was long ago. I mean,
And then-
which year are we talking about, Tanner?
No, so okay, no, but what I'm saying now is that this Ascendant program going into 2023 is obviously an upgrade, right? And as a player, you were seeing that as an upgrade for this tier 2 ecosystem.
But I mean, we have VRLs, we have challengers, we have VRCs.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Like we have everything. we have VRLs, right? I think in comparison, we have way better tier 2 than because we had the 7 VRLs where teams could even participate and get into VCT. Not like in NA, you were fucked after day 1 basically. Was there relegation actually in NA?
Nope.
Or
Yeah. So
no, really.
Absolutely right, dude. I actually forgot about that.
There was VRLs. Then we have this VRCs, which is like the Beacon thing or like the Project V in Europe, right? In Germany. So we have, in my eyes, we have the best tier 2 you could ask for, and we get another one. So, you know, it just gets better and better in my eyes with tier 2. I mean, sorry, Sayf, I didn't mean to take it away from you, but
No, that's true. Like I wasn't even thinking about. I feel so rude for the tier 2 scene in Europe now because I feel it seems like it just slipped out of my mind. Like, as if I've forgotten we had VRLs, we have the the regional leagues for everyone.
You're at the fucking
DACH
top the whole
ones,
time, Sayf.
Dude, the whole region, I was like, what? Yeah, no, I really forgot about it. But maybe that is an issue in itself. But maybe that's a different subject. Yeah.
it's surprising though. Like let's be honest for a second. I think maybe we can bring out the list of the orgs that we have because there's one thing when we talk about the region thing. You talked about where we all go, right? So here we go. We go with Koi and Carmine Corp. So Spain, France, Fnatic is UK basically. Vital, Navi is CIS, Heretics is Spain, BBL is Turkey, Giants is Spain, Liquid is Netherlands, but it doesn't really count. It's Central Europe, whatever. So we have no team from Eastern Europe. We have no team from DACH, let's say it like that. What I'm missing, no actual Nordic team, you're right. No Heroic, no Astralis, nothing like that. It's a bit of a shocker in that sense because it seems to be just purely dominated by the French. What surprises me the most is on none of any lists, there's no G2.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that too. Well, what's your thoughts on having no G2 here, Sayf?
I think it's quite interesting as like G2. I mean, they have a huge fan base, obviously, and they've been there from the beginning, so it's kind of weird not to have them. But I'm pretty sure they applied for NA as well, and something tells me they want to go there, but I'm not sure. So
There were no NA lists though. There were none of the lists actually.
We haven't seen them as speculated. We haven't seen G2 there.
They're going to APAC. Fuck it.
But also, can we talk? I mean, like, I'm just saying maybe some of the toxicity surrounding G2 is a reason why Riot don't really want to get involved.
But this just came out in the last like 2 days,
Ooh.
so I think the conversations with G2 have been going around for like much longer than that. So yes, that could be one huge hiccup. That could be like, fuck it, that's gonna foil all the plans and discussions that we've had with G2 since the beginning. But if you're trying to salvage at least the people that have been working under the G2 banner, the players, the staff, they're all good people too, and you don't want to punish the action of one person onto the whole organization, then what do you think, Zescht? You got something to say?
Let's do it like that. Yeah, I have something for Sayf. This is a thought experiment. You're gonna at least need 10 minutes for this. Listen. Listen. Okay, so we're gonna imagine. I just hypothetically. So we're gonna say this, right? Heretics, are they gonna keep their? No, you know what? We're taking any org. So tell me right now, Sayf. Free agents all over the place. You can pick up anyone you want. You're making a new team as an EMEA org. Who do you pick?
I would pick people that.
No. Names. 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 Give me names.
You mean you're telling me to build a roster? Is that what you're telling me?
Build a freaking roster out of everything that's gonna be free, man.
Okay, let me open my notepad. So first, I need an IGL. I need a flex. I need a controller. I need a duelist.
This is good, Vansilli. Trust me, it's gonna be really good. Any org is gonna pick that up.
And I need IGL, flex, controller, duelist, and then what? Initiator.
Duelist?
Yeah.
Initiator. Okay, so for initiator, I'd probably pick
Leo.
I'd pick Leo actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyone else. I mean, it's not even because he's my teammate. It's just he's so talented. That's about it. Duelist,
we've seen that. We've seen that.
Duelist Derke, obviously. IGL, I'd probably pick. I wouldn't
FNS.
pick. Wait, let's add coach in there as well.
Fuck off.
No, I'm not taking anyone outside of you. But no, IGL. Listen, I'm gonna say something. Boaster.
Okay.
Okay. People look at Boaster and they always say like mean things, and it's actually the same thing for every IGL. Like, oh, they're
Every
so
IGL, yeah.
mechanically bad. They're so la
Yeah.
la la. But I swear to God, like especially with the Al-Fajr pickup, Boaster has found magic with Mini for some
Mhm.
reason. I feel like they have this like winning recipe all the time. So regardless of who they play with, they're gonna always like qualify to things. So I would pick Boaster as my IGL. As flex, I would
And he
probably
could op,
pick.
by the way.
Yeah, we saw that. Exactly. I remember the clip. Combined. Yes. Flex, I'd pick Trex.
Okay.
Actually, insane flex. But this is starting to be guild.
I
have a-
just
Guild.
Guild
It's
and
Guild
Boaster.
right now.
It's just
It's
Guild,
Guild
and
plus
Boaster. Sorry, Colt.
I mean, yeah, wait. Boaster would fall under controller as well.
Mhm.
That was actually my team. Initiator, Leo, Duelist, Derke, IGL/controller, Boaster, Flex, Trex, and then Coach Mini. And last player would probably be Nats.
Chronicle.
Put him as
Okay.
Nats.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, Chronicle, I mean, I don't know. He falls under the same category as Derke, I feel.
I thought
some
for a second
extent.
that you're gonna pick up only free agents, but that's fine. I think let's take it.
Well, you said, I thought you said if if everyone was a free agent in EU.
No, I thought I didn't express it correctly. It was on me.
Yeah,
It's on
you
me.
you
But-
understood correctly, Safe.
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you. That's all I need to hear.
Then let's put it this way. I would rather like to know then. Look at that! Someone paid attention. That's very good. I would really like to know then from you who's the most dangerous team on that list, because also like from all what I'm seeing, just as a quick example for everyone out there as well, there's no FPX, for example, right? So EMEA's strongest team is, for example, not on that list. So who would you say right now from the 9 teams that we've seen so far is the most dangerous to you?
From the 90, but they have no players, or what? Or what do you mean?
What do you, no, we have 9 teams. We have 9 teams that are technically confirmed, sort of.
Yes.
Who is
But
the
what-
strongest?
Strongest, but if I don't know what players they have, then how would I know how strong they are?
Yeah, I mean, okay, but do you think Fnatic's going to do big changes?
There
we go.
I think 99% sure Fnatic is gonna do big change. I think every single org out there is gonna do big changes. I don't think just one org. I think every single one. I mean, the current rosters for any org, for example, Heretics is not gonna keep their players, or even
All
if
of
they had
them?
one. KC, Carmine Corp is not gonna keep their players.
Yeah,
Not all of them, but obviously you keep at least 2 people so that it remains, kind of the same thing, but not at the same time. And then you bring in 3 new players. Obviously, it's gonna be different. Strongest looking, probably. It's a hard question. It's an unanswerable question, Zescht. I'm gonna be honest.
Fine.
It's not answerable. We don't know. We don't know.
It's just a shocker. We also got just 1 minute ago. This news came in. This particular news came in. You cannot believe it. You cannot believe
shit.
it. You can, and they decided otherwise.
I had an emergency meeting. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Well, there you go.
'Cause
There you go.
You guys made me feel stupid when I said that, okay? I just want you to know that when I said G2 fucking around with Andrew Tate is probably the reason they didn't get in.
listen, you had a
Looks
point.
like-
But there is a
You got
point
it.
to that, though. Like, I don't like it when people. I mean, obviously, you have to like put responsibility on the person as well, because he represents something bigger than himself, right? But at the same time, I do hear it when it's like, they've been in talks for a long time, and the person should not affect the org. Like, the org
That's
is
what
its
I'm
own
saying.
entity,
Yeah, well, okay, but for G2, is Carlos not G2? Anything Ocelot, anything Carlos, that screams G2. Because I would think in the same thing that obviously Riot really only cares. PR is the #1 most important thing. And same thing with organizations right across the board, where if Riot really cared about the or just wanted to let people do whatever they wanted to do, then they wouldn't just be locking in 6 teams that they're investing in, right? And I think I don't know, when you have somebody like Andrew Tate doing the things that Andrew Tate is doing, and you're trying to build this ecosystem of game changers and marginalized genders, like that alone is everything that Riot is standing for right now. So
Agreed.
to say,
Agreed.
and like, go ahead, Vance.
Continue. No, go ahead. Continue.
I was
continue,
just say
continue.
for Riot, like, although we probably as human beings, the four of us here could say that if Riot let G2 in, that doesn't mean that Riot fucks with Andrew Tate. But
of course,
people will make that connection, and that is why you can't be doing stuff like that. So I see it the way that you see it, Sayf, but then like again, the PR behind it is like that is an absolute nightmare.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking about exactly that. The G2 goes in, the Mixwell, the Meadows, like even if maybe they're not part of the roster in the partnership program in next year, but every single person and players that had an opportunity to participate into the partnership program, the coaches started involved in that as well. Like all of those opportunities are all out the window when it was like there. It was almost fucking there, you know. And of course, I mean, it fucking sucks for them. I don't think they should have been the one that were punished by it too, but they unfortunately play for the org that's represented by, you know, something that's not good after all.
That team would have never stayed like this. Never ever would have the G2 team stayed like this in EU. Like they were absolutely 100% disbanding, maybe keeping Nuki, maybe keeping Hoodie, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just think all the repercussions in the end is what is very sad too. Okay, so let's say Mixwell doesn't play into next year, right? He's probably still gonna be a content creator. Now he's gonna have all this shit happening in his stream every single time. He's gonna pop that up, being associated by everything that's happened with what happened over the weekend.
If he wants to join Koi, he joins Koi. If he wants to join Heretics, he joins Heretics. This man is the biggest fucking streamer in Spain if it comes to Valorant. So
I agree.
I doubt it. I doubt it. One thing that would be kind of curious to me though, Sayf, is like your whole thoughts on this exclusivity thing of franchise. Because we asked the same question earlier to Hector, right?
Yep.
Like, what is his thoughts on exclusivity? Do you think that is like the way to approach it, or did you like the more open relegation VRL type of thing a lot more?
I think it's a good way to approach it, but I have a really weird opinion about this, okay? So listen up. It's gonna sound really weird, okay? And it's people will not like my opinion, but this is just me, okay? So I'm gonna go back in time here, okay? As a youngling. I'm still young, I'm only 21, but I'll go even further back. I'll go to when I was 13, okay? So growing up, I really didn't know anything about esports, right? I had no clue what it was. It wasn't really that big at the time. I mean, we had the CSGO majors and stuff like that, but I saw a player that I liked randomly on YouTube. It was Get Right, okay? And I idealized this person, you know? I was like, damn, this guy is insane. I really want to be like this guy. Holy. And I grew up, I played the game with this passion, with this fire that I want to be like this guy. I watched his interviews, I watched everything he did. I was like, oh my God, he's so cool. And I lived by that, right?
Yeah.
Now, for this exclusivity and franchise, how I connect these dots is you start creating idols, and VCT has kind of pitched this idea already with, you know, fake idols and, you know that True Gods.
Yeah.
They already pitched this idea, and for me, I know maybe it wasn't intentional by them, but I'm thinking like, isn't this exclusivity showing that like these people are meant to be like idols almost? We want people to think that they're a little like the step further, that there is a prestige in all of this. And sure, it sounds kind of wrong in some people's heads, and in some people's heads it's a little weird to have like a prestige system, but still it's very cool for me as a kid, as like when I idolize someone like that. And that's what we're essentially creating when we do this exclusivity thing. It's going to be like these players are evolving to the next level. They're building their brand, they're becoming, you know, famous all around the world. People will look up to them, and I think that's a cool standard to uphold. So I'm all for this exclusivity thing. I know there are some bad sides to it, like the people are already trying to go pro, they probably might not be able to. There's going to be some hinder, it's going to be a lot harder, but at the same time it adds something to it. You know what I mean? Like it's both fair and not fair, and it's both cool and not cool. Like, yeah.
So go ahead, Jess. Go ahead.
No. Please. I've said
okay.
enough already.
I think this is cool insight, right? Because we talked to Hector from kind of like a coaching mind about the game. Now we kind of get it from the players, right? Where you're in a situation where you're assuming that these rosters aren't going to stay together. You know, how are you approaching this upcoming year as an individual, as a player who, you know, you obviously have your concerns about playing on different rosters from kind of all over the place because EMEA is a huge mixing pot, but What steps are you kind of taking now that you're looking at this and saying, I have to get my in here?
So for me personally, and this is gonna sound stupid as well, I personally have the mindset that regardless of what happens, it's okay. Because I've already I've come to acceptance, and that's the sad thing about it as well. I've come to acceptance as if I don't make it, that's fine. It's whatever the fuck. I didn't make it, you know, I didn't cut it. Someone else took my spot, even though they might not be better.
Mhm.
Whatever, doesnme matter. I've come to peace with that. But obviously for others, maybe they don't do the same, and then that's a perspective I don't have insight on. But for me personally, I've just come to the peace with that. You know, if I don't make it, then I don't make it. If I do, then good for me. But I won't settle for anything less than what I actually want. I mean, you have to remember you're gonna be moving to a different country and living there potentially
Yeah.
with these people. So like you could probably say no to a franchising team just because you do not want to spend 1 year of your life with X people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That you might not know
So
what the relationship's gonna be like. Yeah.
yeah.
I think
So
I think
it's
I think we have very similar school of thought as well, Safe, because it's basically the when a door closes, another one opens, or everything happens for a reason, that type of thing. Like you said, you're 21, you just started esports. I'm 38, and I felt like I've sort of built esports with the boomers that are currently owning Do Not Peak Entertainment, right? So, and when I was when I was starting into the casting world, and you know, I wasn't able to make a career out of it because there was no money to be made yet back then. Then I went, but casting for me allowed me to be a little bit more comfortable around bigger bosses, higher ups in corporations, and I was easily likable. And then working in a corporation allowed me to understand a little bit more the business side of just business in general. And then when I got back into casting, now I could use that experience as well in Valorant now. And then losing a job in because of COVID and everything too opened a door for me to come back into casting with Valorant, because that's when Valorant came out. So everything does happen for a reason. So it's a nice positive mentality that it relieves a lot of that stress as well, right? Especially with the upcoming months that it's going to be happening for you amongst other players that are currently in the trenches waiting to see what's going to happen next. And speaking of that, like, have you heard anything about what's going to be happening in the Pacifics? What's going to be happening in East Asia? All the players talk to each other, man. I want to know. I want to see some people spill the beans.
Are you going to
you,
bleed?
but my reach is not that far. It's not that far.
Well,
So
at
you're
least where we're looking at it, we have Gen G. I mean, at some point, other people are saying that potentially Paper Rex might not be a part of it, and I know we have like different. We had different points of view with Hector that came on earlier, because he used to own an org, so he understands a little bit like maybe some of the prerequisites, the requirements that's needed to be part of potentially the partnership program. But has any of this ever been talked to you when the partnership program was announced here, say from Guild's perspective? Like when the partnership program was announced over in Europe that it was going to happen for 2023, was there anything that was approached by management or by Guild to say like, hey, we want to try to be a part of this. We're going to need this sort of expectation from you guys as the players that represent us. Was there any of those conversations that ever happened?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think
Okay.
it was even in the I think it was in the beginning of this year already. That there was like there were hints about it throughout the whole year, but then when things started getting in motion, that's when they actually said, okay, this is what's gonna happen. You know, brace yourselves in this form and this form and this form. I think my org at least was very vocal about it. So yeah.
Okay. And then now chances are, who knows what's going to be happening with Gil with the amount of spots that are left here that are available.
No
right?
comments.
I'm trying to fucking scratch it, man. I'm trying to scratch it here. Safe. Sorry, Zescht, do you have anything?
Yeah, it's getting a bit in my mind because you're talking about the various things, and you're saying you let it be, and you just let it be what it is. When you take a look at teams overall, that just from your personal perspective, not taking a look at how business side works and so on, which team would you have liked to see in EMEA in the EMEA closed circuit? Is there one team where like, yeah, they would totally deserve to be there?
That's I think Guild. It's not even because of Guild. It's because they've been there from the very start. They've consistently been at the top. They've built their own fan base and brand coming through this year. They have the capital as well, and in company. I'm not gonna discuss company capital with people. Not that you guys don't know anything about it, but if you read forums and stuff, they're like, it said minus there. That's not how a company works. It's going bad. It's like, okay, screw you guys. But yeah, obviously, I think Guild has really done a good job to actually be on that list, as opposed to some other orgs that I will not say the name of, because obviously I want to get in franchising. So yeah, I mean, that's for sure. Guild should probably have had the chance at least.
Mhm. And you guys have David Beckham, right?
Yes, obviously that's.
Yeah,
Hello.
I had a quick one, and just your thoughts on for the teams that didn't make it into franchising directly, barring any changes from the report that we've seen. Do you have faith that teams like, say, Guild, just for instance, will, at the very least, the org will stay in Valorant in hopes that they can, crawl their way through that ascendant kind of program and be one of those, next up teams to join franchising? Do you think orgs will stay together?
I think they will, but I think the conditions for the players will be a lot less worse than the players before them, because obviously, for example, in like, if you invest a lot of money into Valorant, you have a higher chance of getting accepted. That's kind of how we're like. The more you've done, the more you've been
Mhm.
involved of, right? And as soon as you only need to qualify, because you're not in the franchise. As soon as you know that, and you're like making a new roster or getting new players, then you're not going to invest as much, because obviously, like, we're not in the league. We don't need to make huge investments. We just need to make just enough so we might get there, and that'll be
Right.
an investment per se. You know what I mean? So I feel like anyone that comes after is just gonna have probably less salary, less protection, all that stuff that the franchise league covers for the players that will come to it.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well,
Well.
Sayf, I guess this is the end of our time as well. I wanted to ask you a final question too. And this is just going back into everything that just happened in the past month within Champions. So we're going to go into the competition itself. We just witnessed Loud actually winning the tournament over OpTic Gaming 3-1. I wanted to know, have you had a chance to watch the tournament? Who was like your biggest surprise? The best improvement that you've seen through the 16 teams that competed here at Champions?
I think I've watched a lot of the tournament, and I would like to say XSET. God bless XSET. I did not expect them to come out swinging. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I thought they were just gonna go in, and then it's gonna be the same thing as the last Masters that they went to, and it's gonna
Yeah,
be kind of
yeah.
awkward for them. But they did truly surprise, and sure, they made a lot of enemies there, but the way they played, and the way they found their form, like coming into Champions, which is, by the way, the biggest event of the year,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
super proud of them. They really surprised me. So those are my standouts, I guess. And in
That's
terms
awesome.
of everyone else, I mean, obviously people would think like Loud was the standout, but for me, I feel like Loud has always
Been a
had it
favorite.
in the bag. They've
Yeah.
always had it in the bag, and people just have this such a special talent for forgetting when a team does something good. They just scratch it out of the books. And it's like, oh, they've never done anything. It's like, Loud
Mhm.
as shit, dude. They're gonna come in here. They've never won anything, and then bam, they win the whole thing. Well, they've always had it. It's not a surprise. So, yeah, no,
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wanted to maybe discuss a little bit further about Pearl, but we'll bring you on another time too, so we can actually talk about Pearl in 2023 and why is EMEA not as good as NA on that map. But we'll just leave
Aw.
that as a cliffhanger. Sayf, thank you so much for hanging out with us on the show. Thank you for your time, brother. It was really appreciated. I wanted to know, do you have any final shout outs you want to give out? Any final words?
shout out to Sexy Mods, and it was nice being on this show. I really like everyone here, and I actually watch sometimes. So
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for watching,
We
dude. Thanks for
appreciate
watching.
you, man.
And I know you want to have a platform where you could speak your mind from time to time. So definitely, whenever you feel like it, man, feel free to send me a message or anybody else on here. We'll be happy to have you on and just shoot the shit, man, for 2023. But
yeah.
until then, Sayf, thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we'll catch you soon.
thanks, guys.
All right. Zescht, Tanner, Zescht, you had like your headset fell off and wanted to talk about Pearl. Do you have anything to say? I don't give a fuck. Guys, we're gonna close the show for today. Thank you so much for another great week of Valoranting. I think this was actually a very, very super fun show. There was a lot to unpack, and there's still more to unpack throughout the day, because now finally from now until tomorrow is when officially we'll have our 30 teams that will be announced into the partnership program. Zescht. Okay, I'll let you say something. I'll let you say something.
Yeah. Whatever you said about Pearl, OpTic still didn't win champions.
So then next week for Valorant, we'll get to talk about officially the 30 teams that got invited into the partnership program. We'll talk about the patch notes and amongst other things. So Zescht,
sorry.
Go fuck yourself. Tanner, thank you so much for hanging out. What do you want to say? What do you got to say? What do you got to say?
OpTic is not one of them. Go on.
Wait, neither is FEX, man. What the heck?
They leave. I
was gonna say. Well, I don't want to start shit. I don't want to start shit. We can't start another war right now. So with that said, there is what between you and me, dude. That's what I'm talking about, man. Every time we always fight.
Okay, go on. Come on, angry silly. Go on,
dude. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it fucking out of me. I'm trying to close the show. I'm trying to play Hollow Knight. I don't even know what to say anymore. Friends, thank you so much for tuning in every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on twitch.tv/DNPeak. It'll probably be Zescht. I want him back on the show. I want to keep talking shit to him. Tanner and myself, it was great to have you all on. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you soon.